Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to the daily Trade the Chain crypto update, where we give you everything you need to know for the next 24 hours and hopefully the next few days. We are looking at the Trade the Chain dashboard right now. Total crypto market cap down just 1% over the past 24 hours. Total trading volume still above that key level of 40 billion. Average daily sentiment is bullish, but majors are not looking as bullish as they were before. And just to give a little bit of context around that, something I've been talking about in the TTC community is, and we mentioned this yesterday on the show, tomorrow is the FOMC decision at 2 p.m. So obviously discuss this one more time before it actually happens on the show tomorrow. But it is important to understand kind of where we're at in terms of macro. And so this is usually a good kind of pause or flattening or consolidation kind of news event to head into, and then afterwards we should see some exciting price action. So good morning, Richard. Good to see you in the chat. Appreciate you chiming in. So as we look further, again, a bunch of these little altcoins are pumping and have bullish sentiment. So we do know when Bitcoin consolidates, altcoins typically have fun. It is not every single altcoin, as we can see. It is pretty mixed, but the more bullish the asset, typically the better the price action. Although again, it does get a little bit topsy-turvy. So another important metric is we are seeing some more stablecoin withdrawals. We did kind of mention that happened earlier in the week as well. So another kind of indication of a pause. We do have a lot of the TRB has been absolutely explosive. I think it's 10x this year, and we're seeing more supply added with price dropping. So probably, good to assume that probably going to be some selling into these very high prices. So very much something to consider there. So let's move over into, what's going on the charts. DXY is absolutely zooming. Remember, we discussed that idea of kind of that lower or that higher low yesterday, and obviously that's playing out. So, bulls, DXY bulls, I should say, want to see it make its way above the 106.8, because as you can see, remember, it basically, we talked about this, it deviated last week's low, or the 2 weeks low, 2 weeks ago low, and then deviated above and then back into the range. So this is why it was very critical for it to hold this level, because this is kind of the core range right here. So we are back above the range. So if it does not head above this, then we could see deviation back again, which obviously something like that would give risk assets some much needed relief, in my opinion. And I'm sorry, I'm just trying to kind of reset myself here. And then if we break above this, then we'll head up here, and then we have these highs to contend with. And then if you can get above that, then it's pretty much you're back into price discovery, and risk assets would likely take a pause or maybe pull back in that type of situation. So very much something to consider. But again, we are heading into FOMC. So let's say we drip above this into FOMC tomorrow, and then we get some dovishness, and then we're kind of doing something like that, and then risk moves higher. So very much something to consider. No real decision on this. FOMC will be the decider for momentum, and the less react, or the lack of follow through at this level does likely give an indication of potentially pulling back again into this core range. So let's look at equities, which don't look too bad. They did obviously have a nice little rise overnight, but the dotted line is the previous daily close. So still pretty much hovering around the same price that it closed at yesterday. I drew some lines for the TTC community, as we always do. Of course, always give an update as well as to momentum, but we did not get above the 4180 level, which was obviously the overnight high. And we rejected back down to this level. So, if we break below 4150, going to drop down to at least probably this level right here, at worst down here at 4100. And then if you can get above this high, this 4180 high right here, then you should be able to make your way up to 4200, which has a lot of confluence of resistance. Previous weekly VWAP, just solid round number resistance, plus the 1 hour the 1 hour estimated 200 moving average. So this is going to be a critical area. If we do make it up, rejection probably going to send us something like that, and then acceptance is going to pull us all the way up to 42.50, maybe 42.56, maybe 42.60, because we do kind of have this high here. So again, tomorrow FOMC probably will not see too much momentum into FOMC, and then after FOMC we will have our decision. And again, if it's, if Jerome Powell's hawkish, maybe we're doing something like this, and then we do something like that. I'm sorry, if he's dovish, that's what we would do. And then if he's hawkish, we would drop back lower. So remember, dovish is typically bullish, hawkish is typically bearish, and dovish language for Jerome Powell would be, we're pleased with inflation. We're not, we don't think we're sufficient policy is currently restrictive, which means, less hikes in the future. So any indication of a lack of hikes and a pleasure with current progress, dovish. Any indication of displeasure of current progress and an indication of further hikes would be hawkish. Those are kind of the two big ones that are worth looking out for. So of course, very wide variance in what can happen, but tomorrow's FOMC day, and anyone who's been around long enough knows that it's usually a very interesting day in the market. So for Bitcoin, I think, why is this? There we go. So if we kind of just pull back to, okay, where were we trading Friday? So Friday, when we during the US trading session, we obviously dipped, and then we came right back up towards the Friday close. So you got Friday's low down here, which I still think will probably play into something later on. But if you think about it, this is mainly kind of value for Friday's session, right? And we are, just $100 above the value for Friday's session. So not much has changed since late last week for Bitcoin, although we are forming higher lows, and that is obviously a good thing. So the fact that we're holding, and I've got the Monday range lined out here. So Monday high up here, Monday low down here. This is the Monday low. This is the Monday high. So we've got our little Monday range play. So we did sweep the Monday low last night. And I did, warn the TTC community, and I was hoping for a little bit of some bullish momentum, based on that sweep. But the good thing is we've not, sniffed that low again today, although, could plausibly happen. But, if in the most positive situation, we are getting back above the weekly VWAP, we're getting back above the previous daily close, and we're making our way up to this Monday high. Now, let's say we're around FOMC and we're close to the Monday high. Maybe we get some volatility like that. And then we, maybe make our way above the Monday high and kind of attack the previous range high from Monday, October 23rd, which is, last week's high. So if you're thinking, okay, this is the current week's high, this is the last week's high. If we can get above the current week high, we can tag or get above last week's high. And that's kind of the main thought for this type of trade. So although I'm not in anything right now, I did bounce out after some of the early morning volatility. I just figured I'd rather wait for a better play, since I did, try and enter that Monday low sweep. I was not in anything and tried to get in it, early this morning, and saw some of this volatility. Really wasn't interested. Took a point or two and walked away. But what I'm really interested in trading is now a break above the weekly VWAP, a break above the previous daily close, which are, just within $50 of each other. And then we can make our way up to the Monday high. And then if we break above the Monday high, I would really love to probably double down and attack this 35.3 area. But again, FOMC is tomorrow, so I'm being very patient. I took my risk out early, and I'm just going to wait and see if we can get above this 34,481 level, which would be ideal to then attack 34.9. And then that would be a nice little trade and maybe take some risk off and compound if we can get back above 34.9 all the way up here. And then the off chance we break below the Monday low, anything could happen, especially with FOMC tomorrow. Where I would expect us to drop is, again, like I said, this low from last Friday also coincides with the previous week VWAP, also coincides with the 1 hour estimated 200 moving average. So basically 33.5, I think, is a good place to load up on some scalp longs that could then turn into swing longs, because this would still be forming equal lows, maybe even a higher low if we don't even tag the Friday low, and then would set us up for a nice, continued boost higher. So that's something I'll definitely be looking out for. And right now, very boring. So best to wait for, in my opinion, break below here or a sweep, which would be very bullish. Or like I said, again, breaking above 34,473 and attacking 34.9. So that's what I'm looking for right now. For ETH, we talked about this yesterday, giant range. We've got our Monday, actually I'm going to edit this a little bit because this is the Monday high right here. And then we've got the Monday low down here. So very simple, trading strategy for ETH. We broke below 1800. We didn't tag 1777 on the dot, but we tagged 1780. We're now holding at that level. So, I'm going to get rid of this one because this obviously already played out, but these other two still stand, and I'll get to kind of some intra-session discussion here. So if we break below the Monday low, very similar to Bitcoin, I would expect this to drop down to 1750. That coincides with that last Friday low. There's also a lot of liquidity down here, so maybe we don't, it doesn't immediately tag 1750, but I'd say between 1750 and 1760 would probably be where you would see some buying happen. And then a sweep of Friday's low would be even better. But for intraday, very similar to kind of Bitcoin is where we've got confluence of resistance at 1800, weekly VWAPs here, previous daily closes here. That was obviously where we rejected very early this morning. So what you'd want to see is break above the weekly VWAP, maybe above the previous daily close to be extra safe. And then you can take some longs up to this Monday high. And then very similar to Bitcoin, if you can get above that Monday high, then you can start to attack last week's high. And then, then that's your decision for higher or potentially getting sent back lower. So ETH, in my opinion, is much more straightforward. The range is much more simplistic, at least in my view. But, we're still, consolidating kind of around these areas from late last night and not really doing much heading into FOMC. So in my opinion, and kind of my outlook heading into tomorrow is not much is going to happen. We could obviously break above those key levels that I mentioned. You could get a scalp up to the Friday or the Monday high. But your risk is defined because you would just set your stop, right down here. And so that could be a decent trade to sit in. But, with FOMC tomorrow, with equities pretty much doing nothing, with DXY, inching higher, I think, patience is probably a virtue, and I would be shocked if we saw any extreme price action prior to FOMC. But I think after FOMC, because we'll get the rate hike, everyone's expecting no hike, which is what I think will happen as well. And then after, after FOMC, we of course have the press conference, and then that's when he'll give us, Jerome Powell, will give us, his dovishness or his hawkishness. And if he's dovish, market should rebound, whether that's temporary or, going to be a momentum play, we'll have to see. But, and then obviously if he's hawkish, then we'll, take a stab down. And then that's when we would kind of look for these, these key levels that we have lined out down here for Bitcoin. And then, these kind of levels down here for ETH. So, I think don't overextend yourself, don't over confuse yourself. We always have a weird trading week during FOMC. There's been a big boost. I think any dips are definitely for buying. If you're entering here, you're definitely, I think, taking a little bit more risk than you need. But again, the trades are defined. If you wanted to make a play on a long, stop at the low, and you've got pretty simple risk all the way up to the Monday high. So that is, probably the only play that I see right now. It is a little bit risky, but and we could obviously just keep consolidating, but there is a play if you'd like to take one. I'm not in it. I'm waiting for a bit more safety because I could also see another one of these where we sweep the lows again and then don't actually end up breaking above mid-range, which is the most frustrating type of trade you can take because it looks so good. It rejects and it kills your stop, and then it moves a little bit higher again. And that's pretty much what's happened ever since Sunday opened: is low, high, sweep the low, mid-range, sweep the low, mid-range, and now we're kind of holding here, which I guarantee you people are going to start entering, which is, why, again, technically it is a good trade, but, you kept getting psyched out, every 12 hours on these sweeps. So again, for me, play it patient. I don't really feel like punching a computer screen because my stop got swept the day before FOMC, so I think you can definitely be patient heading into tomorrow. After tomorrow should be some good fun stuff, and of course, brand new start to the month. So we should see, some more excitement, some more action. People are closing out their month right now, getting ready for the new one. So with that being said, good luck, happy trading. See everybody tomorrow.